Do that, and we put a link to that for everyone on there.
Yep, I'm going to put up all my research to get the website sorted out with all the background on the common law, the statement of
how
your
people can implement it into their daily lives.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
All that stuff.
One of the questions that I know a lot of people are going to say is, surely if everyone just give up paying council tax and all that stuff, we'd just have anarchy or whatever. Can you talk about that maybe a little bit?
Yeah, well, people think that when they pay their income tax or their council tax, they're paying for services, but they're not. The money they're paying is being invested on the stock exchange. And therefore, again, in a system of usury, a system of making money out of money. So it's not actually being used for your services. People think it's building motorways, schools. It's not. It's paying rich bankers the interest on the national debt. So that's 43 billion this year. 43 billion of public funds is going to go straight in the pockets of rich bankers, essentially doing no more than printing money. Now, imagine if we freed up that 43 billion. Imagine the investment we could put in alternative energy and alternative healthcare, which would cost a fraction of that, basically. And again, obviously what we do is that will then destroy their councils and so on. It will then be up to us, if we want to have our bins emptied, to pay a levy to have your bins emptied and so on.
Which is a reasonable gesture, I'd say.
Yeah, reasonable gesture, pay for a service, absolutely right, a reasonable gesture. But that money then, of course, because it's just being used purely for the actual costs of doing these things, which aren't particularly high, you'll be paying a tiny, tiny amount of tax. And it won't hurt your income at all, basically.
So, I've seen some girls that had my cat.
No.
I saw a cat go that way.
What colour?
It was kind of a white.
No,
and
it's black one, little black one.
Oh. Fuck! Why don't you fucking touch my cat?
It's around here somewhere, Mark. I see the cat.
Oh God, what if they've stolen him?
So go on.
So say having pay a reasonable amount, and of course this also has effects on things like a car, for example. You can deregister your car with the DVLA. When you register your car, you're effectively giving ownership of the car to the DVLA and saying you can make any decision you like about me, really.
And they also can't tow you, Dave, can they?
No. So what you do again, you issue a common law notice to the vehicle licensing centre, the DVLA, saying that you're no longer part of their system. And if they do impound your car, because they may be tempted to, you again charge a fee schedule. And there's a guy at the moment who lives in near Derby, a guy called Rich Harrison, who did this. They took his car off him. They've had it impounded for months and months and months. Just recently, police solicitor have contacted him and said, can we settle out of court for 23,000? Because he's owed a fortune, because it's £1,000 a day I think he was charging. And he's saying, no, I don't want 23,000.
I bet they shit themselves when they got that letter through, wouldn't they? Fucking hell. Who the fuck are we fucked with now?
And this is the thing about it, I'm obviously not interested in money, but in some ways you've got to speak the only language they understand, and that is money. So that's why you've got your fee schedule. Ideally you shouldn't have to do that. Ideally you should be able to say to a policeman, look, you're a constable, and in Black's Law Dictionary the definition of a constable is somebody whose first duty is to the common law.
Yeah.
So if you're stopped by a policeman, the first thing you're going to have to ask him is, where's the injured man again? Because that's the only thing you can do, is intervene in a dispute between a man who's claiming injury against another man. And there's no injured man there, so the cop has got to go away. But of course they don't know that, because they're not taught the law, right?
Yeah.
And part of my strategy as well is to go to the Police Federation, to go to the Chief Constables, to the Association of Chief Police Officers, and make sure they know all about the common law. And what is different about the common law and their laws is the common law, there is a duty to the law that means that you have to tell people about the common law. If you know about it and somebody else doesn't, you've got to tell them. That is part of your duty to God and part of the duty to, peace and good governance on the planet, basically.
So when you go into a magistrate's court, how do you enter into contracts? What do you actually say to not enter into a contract with a magistrate?
Yeah, people talk about contracting, and this is where they get you into their system. Is they will get you under a contract by consent, but the trick is you can consent by not saying no, basically. So if they say something to you and you don't say no, you just remain silent, you've consented to the process. So you've got to make it clear by either asking them questions that you're not contracting with them.
Is this part of an arrest where you have the right to remain silent and you enter into a contract?
Well, this is it, because you're being arrested, you're silent, you consent to the arrest, that's the point.
So everyone on YouTube, when a copper says to you, you have the right to remain silent...
They don't say that anymore, they've changed it, haven't they? You don't have a right to remain silent.
They just hit you with a baton.
This is something about the police as well. The police are not there to protect people. They are revenue collectors on behalf of, like you say, called the Babylonian.
Which is what they shouldn't. So anyone that's a copper or an armed force guy, this ain't about anyone hating coppers and stuff. This is about you guys understanding that, David, take this one because...
No, this is what I say when I do engage with the police and so on, is that because they operate under this oath of office, which gives them a duty to the common law, that people in future will be suing them. So it's in their own interest when I tell them about this to go and find out about it. So some other person
then come back and hit me with your baton.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then they've got to pay compensation. Yeah. But if you're ever called to the courtroom, now another thing people will tell you, you get a summons to court. If you look in Black's Law Dictionary, again, a summons is merely an invitation. You can decline any invitation. You don't have to go to court.
I'm not going to turn up to Parliament.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to court. But I think in some ways it's better to face them down.
Definitely.
So you go into the courtroom, and the first thing you do when the judge sits down is you ask him whether he's under oath. Now this puts him under an oath to do justice before God. If he's not under oath, he is basically an accountant. He's balancing the books for their Babylonian system. Now in that system there's no way a man is ever going to win against a corporation, obviously, because they've got a lot more money. And once you've got him on, if he says, no, I'm not under oath, you can actually say to him, I'm going now, because you're under no duty to do justice, you have no power over me, I'm out of the courtroom. Then you might get him under oath. Right, okay, I'm under oath. The next question you ask him is, where is the man who is alleging an injury against me? Because a judge can only decide a dispute between two real men. Corporations don't come into the common law at all. So if the corporation standing next to you, say this is a corporation, it's not a real man, you say to the judge, I want to see the real man who's making the claim against me. He can't produce it, so you say, right, I'm off, there's no dispute to settle. It's as simple as that. Now they will try and avoid this, they will do everything they can to try and get you in the nick, get you done and everything else, but you've got to know your stuff and stand your ground, yeah?
Definitely. So and this is for the people at YouTube and stuff, so often magistrates and all those people in bureaucracy and stuff, they will say, oh, you can't do that, there's no such thing as that.
Yeah.
What's your comments to that?
You just tell them what the common law is. They'll say, I've got the research in the common law that no one else has done. There's a lot of people out there doing free man stuff at the moment, like John Harris and so on, but I've got the core of the common law. And it's definitely there. I can show people all the research, they can send that to them, but they will come back at you with statute law.
But they will arrest you at some point, and you've got to do a few hours in the police, so if you go along this route, yeah?
Yeah, they will try and put you in the cells, even though you tell them about the common law stuff, but that's when I say you've got your fee schedule, you then issue your claim for damages based on the fee schedule. That is a lawful bill because the contract's there, it's been put in your fee schedule. If they don't pay that, you're then a creditor of the corporation, because police are corporations, and as a creditor of the corporation, you can wind up that corporation if it doesn't pay its bills. So you go to the official receiver and say, this corporation hasn't paid me, I now want to see it wound up. And of course they don't want the corporation to be wound up, so they will pay the bill to you. But yeah, this is all based, I mean, the funny thing about this is it is all based upon history and the Bible and so on. The judge under oath is what's known as a Melchizedek priest. He's a preacher of the order of the righteous messenger, basically. In that situation under oath, he's bound to do justice. And this is the other thing about it. If he doesn't do justice, you can then sue him. If he says, well, I'm not going to allow that evidence in the case.
Did you hear that, everyone? We've got to sue them. Sue their fucking asses.
If he says you can't put that evidence in, you say, well, hang on, I've got this evidence, it's part of my case. You can then sue him for failing to do justice, going before another judge who will make an award against him, basically. And of course, part of this stuff as well, we can set up our own common law courts.
Yeah.
That is the point. We can do that.
It's about, isn't it?
Yeah, this is how we can start taking them apart.
This is great. Could elaborate a little bit on the structure of the courts and maritime law, because isn't it true that the docks, that you would have the ships that come into the docks, and you would have the judge or the magistrates positioned.
Yeah, this is it.
You actually enter onto a boat, don't you?
Well, this
is I suppose what we're beginning to talk about here is where all these kind of laws derive from, and it's this kind of old
derivative.
In the past, there was only the common law, which was also known as the law of the land. Yeah. But when they began to trade at sea and so on, they created the law of the sea. So it's all based on, all commercial law is based upon maritime law. All contract law is based upon maritime law. And what they do is they use tricks. You have a thing called a birth certificate.
Yeah.
The ship is birthed.
Fucking birth contract.
When you're a criminal, you stand in the dock like a ship. So they're effectively making you a ship and putting you under maritime law. But of course you've got to consent to being a ship. You're a real man. You don't have to consent to that at all. If you say I'm not a ship, I'm a man, a flesh and blood man, a soul incarnated.
Is it also capitalised?
They've done other tricks under Roman law using different types of capital letter. If all your name is in capitals, you're a slave, basically.
Yes,
so never fill a form in with capital letters. Always use all lowercase, well, use capitals at the beginning words, but all otherwise lowercase letters.
Because otherwise it's capitis diminution maxima, if it's all uppercase. Because you represent a corporation.